Hi friends, welcome back to another video. This one is likely going to be polarizing, especially if it gets traction, so I guess we'll see what happens. My intention in sharing this is to use my voice to acknowledge and perpetuate, to speak on nuance that is, from my perspective, absent in the mainstream social media current, or at least in my feed, and I do think at large. And we all know that the media influences our thoughts collectively and our fears and our beliefs because as social creatures we are wired to kind of be. I don't know why the phrase that wants to come to mind is like selectively biased. I don't even know what that means. But what I mean when I say that is we're wired to really conform to the mass majority, like the main bias of society. And the thing about social media is that the powers that be and the corporations that invest money in the medias that reach the entire population, they do censor the narratives that propagate around the media. And that's why sometimes a lot of people are repeating lies without being discerning, and lots of people hop on bandwagons that they have not even applied like what's that word, like cognitive thinking skills. What is that word? Everybody learns it in school. You learn how to think with discernment, to discern, why am I blanking on this? Critical thinking. That's what I was thinking of. So yeah, a lot of people swallow and act in alignment. It's a mask. It's a performance. A lot of people perform alignment with values just because they're popular, or just because they look good, or just because they're afraid of getting knocked down off some social hierarchical ladder. But they really just lack critical thinking skills. And there's so many examples of this when it comes to medical science and politics and gender issues as well. And I'm here to just name this because God put this passion and clarity in my heart for a reason, and I know I'm meant to speak it, and I feel like I just can't not talk about these things anymore. So this video is going to be polarizing, especially if it gets popular, which I don't expect it to at all because my YouTube is not popular at all right now, but whatever. I need to put this out because I know it's going to reach the right people, and I do feel like my voice needs to be added to a sea of voices, on the internet where we're inundated with, half-truths. And so what I'm going to talk about here is not intended to erase anybody's experience, but it is intended to encourage critical thinking and to share my observations, my experiences, to raise some questions. So I would advise, if any of these topics trigger you or create an emotional charge in you, I respect that, and I would encourage you to, if you want to engage, do so from a place of clarity. And you can be mad, you can hate what I'm saying, that's okay. You can even judge it, but if you choose to engage with me, please do so from a place of clarity, and not from a place of politicizing anything, or recycling or using phrases just because they're hot, or just because they feel powerful, or make you feel like you have power to defend yourself or defend your point of view if you feel like I'm rattling it, because I do that. Clarity does that. Clarity rattles people's perspectives, and not everybody is ready for the truth. Not everybody is ready for clear vision. But that's what I bring. because I listen to my feelings and I track them and I trace them and I think critically, and I try not to jump to conclusions with things like this. Anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is how social media, specifically on my Instagram feed, treats autism and what they say about autism. My observation is that so many people in my Instagram reels, because I scroll, I spend time scrolling, I spend leisure time on my phone, and I see lots of reels. And almost every single one that I see about autism is not actually about autism. It's actually about people realizing that they have human needs, or they're very sensitive and living in a world that has never acknowledged or revered their sensitivity, and they're using that as an excuse to diagnose themselves as autistic. Now, this is not to invalidate or erase people who do diagnose themselves as autistic, and have that genuinely support them and work for them. I just want to make a distinction here, because a lot of people are calling themselves autistic for specific human needs, such as the need to be held and validated in the middle of a deep, intense emotion. Well, surprise, we're human beings and we're wired for deep, intense emotions, whether or not you're awake to it or whether you're numb to it. We all feel deeply. And this is literally just sharing with you exactly what I've seen in Instagram Reels. A lot of people see their intense passion and they call it a hyperfixation, when it's not really a hyperfixation. It's a passion. And I'm not saying I know who's doing what, but I'm saying that I see people expressing their joy for working out or crafting or having a hobby, and saying that this hyperfixation means that I'm autistic. But, surprise, most people, I believe every human being has a passion in them, whether they're awake to it or not. And what does hyperfixation even mean? What does it even mean? What even is the difference between the words hyperfixation and passion? And that's something that's missing from this conversation. Because I'm not trying to erase someone who has a hyperfixation. However, I have only seen people diagnosing themselves as autistic based on the fact that they are passionate about something. But human beings are wired to experience profound joy and pleasure in life when they're immersed in a sense of purpose and connection and creativity, and that constitutes passion. I've also seen people think that they're autistic because they are very sensitive. It's true that I think most, if not all, autistic people are extremely sensitive, but you can be extremely sensitive and not be autistic. I am psychic and intuitive. I have really strong pattern recognition abilities, and that's, in my experience, that is all intuition is. And there are psychic mediums who are extremely sensitive and perceptive and highly skilled at pattern recognition, and they're not autistic just because they have strong pattern recognition capacity. So basically, with everything that I'm saying, all these traits that I've listed so far, I think I've listed 3, and there's more. I can't think of any at this exact moment, but as I do, I will share them. Another one that I see a lot is people thinking that wanting to spend silent time doing things that they enjoy with their friends or partners means that they're autistic. But the two are not. I think what I'm trying to say is they're not mutually exclusive. Like, just because you enjoy silent company with someone doesn't make you autistic, like, automatically. Yes, it's true that if you are autistic, you might be more, I mean, I don't know, but you might be more likely to enjoy spending time with someone doing something that you love silently. That might be a very common autistic trait. I mean, it probably is. But that doesn't mean that you're autistic. It means that you're a human being. You know? And so what I'm trying to get at here is it's a question. If all of those things are basic human needs, basic characteristics of being a human being, why isn't every human being autistic? And what does autism even mean? It's become so watered down in the mainstream social media narrative that when I watch these reels, I feel less encouraged and less compersion for someone. Great for them for finding a path or an identity or a label that makes them feel more supported in this world or helps them access their needs more. But what does it do to people who are experiencing autism and are misrepresented or erased or dismissed because all of a sudden the mainstream Instagram consumer now has this idea of what autism is in their head because one person said, I'm really sensitive and I love being hugged by my partner while I'm having a breakdown and a meltdown, and I'm sensitive, very sensitive, and I have good pattern recognition, and I like doing silent activities side by side with the people that I love. Like, just because a post like that comes out, or many posts like that come out, and they fill your algorithm, and they have hundreds of thousands of likes and comments and follows, what that does psychologically to a person is it says, wow, I am outnumbered. The majority of people are all agreeing that this is what autism is. So then what happens when you're in the room with someone who's using the label of autism as a mask to avoid the fact that they are human beings, and maybe, just maybe, and this is such a heavy, grief-inducing thing to even acknowledge, but maybe, just maybe, those people who are using autism as a label and a mask to hide from their human needs have never felt loved before for being who they are. Because, yeah, not everyone is super sensitive. Not everyone, has those kinds of characteristics that people are now overly identifying with as autistic. But what if the truth is not that you are autistic, but that you share a lot of traits with autistic people and you've never known love or acceptance through medical institutions, through your family, through your school, through your community? What if that's the truth instead? And I don't see anybody asking that question. And, I'm just going to go there because I'm here right now. I'm not transphobic by any means, but I notice that trans people who decide to detransition, their stories are erased, and whenever people share those stories, they're met with accusations that accuse the sharer of the story for being transphobic. But I know someone, I'm not in touch with this person actively, but I was close with this person many years ago. They were a friend of mine, and we would go to queer community events together. Because when I was younger, I was like gay. I was identified as a lesbian because I fell in love with females before. But that's changed. I don't have an interest in that right now. So I don't have hatred in my heart towards queer people. I respect people's expressions and, gender identities. However, this is a nuance that's not spoken about, because you can't speak about it on social media without getting canceled or without being accused as being transphobic. And I am 100% certain that if this video does get popular, I mean, even if the right person sees it, they're gonna be spewing on me in the comments. I just know that, because what I'm saying is polarized. It's not, what I'm saying is not the preferred narrative of society, of the media. But it has to be said because I can't deny it, and I'm speaking the truth, you know? So anyway, it's true that people who detransition, they're erased. I mean, I see way more posts in my feed about, you know, trans rights and riots and, you know, laws and whatever, all that stuff, than I do about the reality of some trans people, not all, but some, who in their journeys grow to realize and reflect that their gender dysphoria, body dysmorphia, whatever, and their, you know, gender expression was a symptom of deeper trauma, that when they resolved that, they realized, oh, I'm not actually the opposite sex. I am my own sex, but I was just conditioned by politics, by my school, by maybe my family, that I'm not my gender. I'm a different gender. And again, I know people, and I love people who are queer and who are trans and who are gender neutral. And so the same, you know, story might not apply to them. But why isn't the less common truth, or the thing that questions the main narrative, why isn't that allowed to be spoken about without being canceled? Or, you know, why can't someone stand on a podium without having tomatoes thrown at them, metaphorically, so to speak, just because they're saying an opinion that's different from the masses, you know? It creates polarity. Because why? Because, again, it's like, it's a social psychological thing. We're wired to kind of appeal to the masses. We're wired to conform. We're interdependent. So when social media and, you know, these elite corporate powers have control over which narratives perpetuate our feeds, it programs the mind to be afraid of, you know, being different, when in reality, we're all fucking different. We're so fucking different, every single one of us. None of us are the same. We have being human in common. We share experiences, but every single one of us is individual, and that's powerful, you know, in our own ways. We are also very united as humans. You know, we all share the same needs. We all share, you know, but we have different ways of expressing our culture and our relationship to our place and our society and our environment, and that, you know, is a beautiful thing. But, you know, the powers that be, the elite powers and corporate, you know, agendas, exploit differences, and they train the collective psyche to be afraid. If you stray from the main narrative, all of a sudden you are an outcast, and you're the bad person, and you're the wrong person, and you're transphobic, or you're a fascist, or a socialist, or like whatever the fuck. But that's just not true. It's just a big undercover psychological trick. It's just a trick, you know? And I think that, you know, it's I'm not hypnotized by the media, because I understand, you know, that the truths that my body speaks to me are suppressed in the light of the media, but not in a lot of people. A lot of people actually have discernment. A lot of people know how to listen to what their bodies are saying. And they don't fool themselves. They don't delude themselves. They don't believe something that's handed to them off a shelf or off a screen just because it's popular. They use discernment. And, I just posted a reel on this too, but sometimes it's, not safe to even speak about what you see, because it could put you at risk for being ostracized or losing resources or whatever. And I don't know, maybe I'm doing the same thing for myself right now. It's definitely risky to be sharing this in terms of, how liked I am publicly, but I am here to talk about these things because they're real inside of me, and I can't deny them. And if I'm going to be a leader and be seen, I'm not going to hide. I'm going to show my cards. I'm going to show people, if you support me, you support critical thinking. You support body sovereignty and autonomy. You support nuanced conversations. You support, visibility of every angle of the human experience, not just one narrative that's perpetuated by corporate powers. So I'll go back to the main topic of this video being about autism, and there's so many different tangents that I could go off on with this, but just to wrap it up, just because you have characteristics that an Instagram reel says that makes you autistic, it doesn't make you autistic, especially if those characteristics are human needs. And in terms of what does make you autistic, I don't know enough about autism to tell you whether you're autistic or what makes you autistic. But what I do know is that if having these basic human needs that people think validates them to wear this badge of I'm autistic, if having those human needs makes you autistic, then autism just becomes a part of the human condition, and there's no need for a label because it just reabsorbs into what it means to be human. And it's no longer a category. And I know that when, autism is a spectrum, as people say, but so is being human. Like, none of us are exempt from being human. All humans are human. You know what I mean? And we don't go around to people introducing ourselves saying, hi, my name is so-and-so and I'm human, but autism is different because it is not exclusive to all humans. And so that's why you can't pretend like just because you have human needs, you are autistic. So, where's the nuance in that? Social media. And think about how that can influence people who don't yet have critical thinking skills. It just dilutes people's minds. It can become so confusing to younger minds, less refined brains who don't have the capacity to reflexively process, what it means to be a human. Because, a child could be on social media and see someone's Instagram reel saying, I'm emotional and I love being held. I love doing things silently next to my partner. I love being a passenger in the car with them. I love working out a lot. A child could see those things and this person saying, I'm autistic and I'm proud, and look at them. They get so many hundreds of thousands of likes and comments and reshares and follows, and they're famous on the internet, and they're portraying a video image of their lives, of them being so happy, and a little, 10-year-old, whatever, could see this post and think, well, if they're autistic, I'm autistic, because I also like all the same things, and I don't feel validated at home. I don't feel accepted in my school or by my mom or by my dad or by my siblings. So maybe that means I'm autistic. So maybe I need to take medicines for my autism. Or maybe I need to only hang out with people who I don't know, accept autism. Or maybe I need to identify with being autistic because it's not safe to be who I am. You know what I mean? Like that's a potential harm in misusing a medical diagnosis. There's so much more that can be said on this, but I'm just going to leave this here. And again, if you want to have a civilized conversation, a respectful conversation, a reflexive, dialectic conversation, I welcome that. But any projections on me or anyone in the comments, you will be blocked and deleted. There's only space for respectful, transparent, vulnerable conversations in the comments. So that's all I got for you today. See you next time.